Hi, I'm Tara Lynn of Geek Saga Entertainment here with my co-host Manny for our June 2025 State of the Saga discussion.
So I'm Manny. In these monthly update shows, we'll be talking about what we've been listening to, playing, reading, and/or watching, and probably also just general stuff that's going on with our lives and maybe even recent pop culture happenings.
Before we get started, just a heads up that you can follow me and therefore all of the Geek Saga endeavors at Geek Saga on Blue Sky, Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and YouTube.
And you can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Manissimo Art.
Just a slightly more than a few house cleaning items before we dig in. First, thank you to any patrons who are joining us for the patron-only live stream version of this month's State of the Saga. Second, thank you also to any patrons watching the early release of the live stream recording. You guys are such a big part of helping us keep the lights on, so to speak, for Geek Saga Entertainment. And we truly, truly appreciate each and every one of you and the support you give. Finally, if you're watching or listening to the recording once it's gone public, keep in mind that we do record these approximately 2 or 2.5 weeks prior to their public release. And also, pretty please make sure to hit those like and or subscribe buttons. And if you're catching it somewhere where you can give it a rating, it would really help us out if you could mark it 5 stars. Also, if you aren't already part of our Patreon family, please check out our sponsorship options. For just $5 a month, you can watch our State of the Saga episodes live, while for just $3 a month, you get early access to these episodes and all podcast episodes, and to our cross-country travelogue next month. That'll be July 2025, as Manny helps me get my pups and my car from California to South Carolina. These posts will be a combination of early access and patron-only ones, so make sure to join our Patreon at the $3 per month level or above by July 15th. You can check it out at patreon.com/geeksaga_entertainment.
With all of that out of the way, we're going to get into our discussion. We're going to kick this month's episode off with news and or general gossip.
Let's try to go back and forth here a little bit, I guess. I'll start just getting this off my chest a little bit. I am a huge Lilo and Stitch fan. I am and always have been very meh about these live action remakes for any of the movies. But I was planning on seeing the Lilo and Stitch one because, again, huge Lilo and Stitch fan. That said, I decided not to go see it in theaters. I will absolutely watch it once it's available for streaming. I know it was a huge cash cow for Disney, so whatever complaints people have had that have stopped me from going to see it in the theaters, I guess are maybe neither here nor there, but I kind of knew ahead of time from the trailers and stuff that Jumba and Pleaklea were going to be in human form basically the entire time, which I'm assuming it was mostly to save them money on CGI, but also it's like, oh, if we're paying, I don't know, Zach Galifianakis money, we want his face on the screen. Maybe that, I don't know, that's disappointing to me because that's kind of the whole point of Jumba and Pleaklea is that they try to be human and like they sort of sillily, I know that's not really a word, but sillily pass and everything. And so, yeah, I don't know. I was meh about that ahead of time. And then I heard about the end. And do you care if you've probably already seen some spoilers, but
I haven't seen anything. I don't watch a lot of Disney movies, so I have no idea.
So you don't care. But spoiler alert, if you're listening to this as a podcast, once I heard that Nani leaves Lilo, gives up Lilo essentially to go to marine biology school on the mainland, I was immediately like, nope, I'm out, not seeing it in the theaters. They're not getting my money that way. I know, there've been some, she leaves her with David and his grandmother. I think it's his grandmother. Yeah. So it's still like an Ohana situation. She's leaving her with locals. It's not like she's giving her up to the state, but literally Ohana means family. Family means no one gets left behind. Bring her with you then. And I that's not really feasible. I understand that. But at the same time, like, why do you got to go to marine biology school on the mainland? I've heard it's Monterey Bay where she ends up going, but like as if Hawaii does not have marine biology schools. I checked. They have at least two on Oahu in Honolulu and one on the Big Island in Hilo. And guess what? While the original Lilo and Stitch was set on Kauai, the live action is set on frickin' Oahu. Again, no one else is on Oahu, at least 2 marine biology schools, for fuck's sake. That's my mini Lilo and Stitch rant. And yes, I will watch it. I have heard from people who've seen it that they really liked it, but I also stand with the idea that they should not have changed the ending. Like, just stop. Just stop.
So with these Disney live actions, right? Because my kid made me watch The Little Mermaid. The Little Mermaid was the last Disney like animated movie that I watched like when I was young, right? I never got into The Lion King, I never got into Beauty and the Beast, I never got into any of those things. Like I skipped that entire thing, like Tarzan and all this stuff. I just didn't care anymore. If I had to hear another Phil Collins song going on in a Disney movie, I was gonna just,
How dare you?
I know. I'm sorry. I know it's an unpopular opinion. I'm sorry. I'm just gonna be
Oh,
the
I'm
aggressor
having a
here.
party at my house after I move back to Greenville, and I am inviting all of my local friends, and we are going to have a Tarzan watch party in which we all sing along to the Phil Collins songs, and you are required to be
You know what? I mean, I love a little bit of pain, so I'll sit there, and try to truck through it as best possible. I'm sure it'll be the best 7.5 minutes of my life, or however long that song is.
Oh,
But
there's a lot of them. They're all Phil Collins songs in there.
yeah,
But anyway, go on,
but
go
like,
on.
yeah, so I never got into the other Disney's, and I'm sure they're great and all this stuff. I was already older at this point. I didn't really care anymore. So the last one that I had remembered that I actually enjoyed was The Little Mermaid because it was like done really well, had really good singing. My kid made me watch the live action. And I wasn't crazy about this concept of Disney doing the live actions. I mean, we all know why they're doing them. It's so they can keep the public domain or whatever. Like, I get it. So they have to do something with these things. I get it. I also have a problem with them calling the Lion King the live action version of Lion King. It's not live
Same.
action. Anyways, I digress. So I watched The Little Mermaid, and honestly, it was actually really good. The lead actress they got was really great. Melissa McCarthy as Ursula was fucking phenomenal. When she did that song, I was like, holy shit. That's when I was like 100% on board with it. I was like, that is fucking perfect. I think I watched Cinderella too, actually, but I don't remember anything about it, so it didn't really stick with me.
That was one of the early ones. I have not seen the live action Little Mermaid, and I keep telling myself, like, I want to see it. It's not that I don't want to. It's been on Disney Plus forever. It's just like one of those
Hmm.
things that the idea of watching it, it's something I would probably end up watching by myself. And I just keep
Yeah.
like, it goes over my head that it's
Hmm.
available. I will say this, my middle sister takes her two daughters to see pretty much all of these when they come in out in the
Hmm.
theaters. And especially my younger niece, she's mixed race, and she was maybe she might have been 6 when the Little
Hmm.
Mermaid live action came out. And hearing from my sister that my little niece KK was like, she looks like me, mommy, was like, be still my fucking
Yeah.
heart. I heard from many people that it's really
Hmm.
good. So
No, it was fantastic. When Disney does this stuff, I always expect there to be some kind of message in the background or something, but it really stayed true to what the original movie was. And the lead actress's voice was phenomenal. I mean, she was great. She looked the part. It was fantastic. But yeah, that was the last live action one I have because I've just never been, I don't know, after Little Mermaid, I just like, I was younger. Like when I was a kid, my favorite one was Snow White. I was really into like
mm.
Snow White when I was young, just because she was the only Disney princess with dark hair who looked like my people.
My favorite Disney movie when I was young was Lady and the Tramp, but I also
Oh,
was
Lady
a
and the Tramp was good.
kid when my youngest sister's favorite was Aristocats. I think it still is, honestly. I was pretty young. Like, I want to say, what was Aladdin was like 92. So I was like 9, I think,
Hmm.
when it came out. I was still of an age to enjoy the ones even that came after Aladdin. So I did enjoy that like late 80s, early 90s list of Disney movies. But then even also like the later ones, like Hercules is fun. Tarzan, like I said, I think Tarzan is a lot of fun. Yeah, like you said, the problems with all these. Listen, Lady and the Tramp, the Siamese
Yeah.
cats. Okay, come on.
Yep.
And then they had that sort of dead era where there was, and not that I'm saying that like Atlantis was crappy or what was the other one? Those have like cult followings, and I thought both of them were good, but they didn't give me the feeling that the early ones did. Even the later early ones like Hercules and Tarzan.
Hmm.
But my God, Emperor's New Groove, fucking
That was
phenomenal.
good.
Chef's
That was
kiss.
good. Yeah, no. I remember I clearly remember that one. That one was good. There was a lot of movies that came out around that time period that are kind of forgotten. Treasure Planet, Atlantis, and stuff like that, which I really appreciated those because they were just
Mhm.
different.
Yeah.
But there was one, I don't know if you remember, it was called Titan AE.
I know what you're talking about. I've only seen it once though, and it was like
Yeah.
around the time it came out.
So I think it was animated by the same people who did like The Secret of Nim back from like the 80s. So it has the same art style. But that movie was awesome because obviously it's like it's sci-fi instead of just like the typical fantasy and stuff. But I loved that one. I saw that. I can't remember when that came out, like 98, maybe 99. I can't remember.
Mm.
But that's what I consider that weird because you say it was like a dead era, which is true. It totally was a dead era for Disney. but there was these other things coming out that were different. They were like creative, you know, it wasn't a typical kind of story, which I thought was like really awesome.
Yeah, Disney didn't really pick back up again until like maybe Rapunzel. They had the Chicken Little movie, which I hilariously saw in theaters. My brother and I were like, let's do something just totally stupid. We're going to go to the theater and see some, like, there was nothing in the theater. So we were like, let's just see Chicken Little. And it was not great, but we were
No,
really drunk.
yeah,
So that made
it
it
was
fun.
better. Exactly. That made it better.
What's your first newsy thing?
So my first newsy thing is that there's been this rumor bouncing around the internet. I don't know how true it is because it is a few years old at this point, but
Mm.
that they were going to be making a live action Legend of Zelda show. I believe it was. I think it's a Netflix thing. I'm not entirely positive. So there's this rumor about the casting of Zelda, and the casting is this person, Hunter Schafer. And I didn't read into it. I just saw a picture of her and I was like, oh, this is phenomenal. She looks exactly like Zelda, especially from the Twilight Princess era of, you know, when they were releasing these games. I'm like, she's absolutely fucking perfect. And it said, oh, controversy. So I'm like, okay, what's the controversy? There's always controversy. What could possibly be the controversy here? Well, it turns out that Hunter Schafer is a trans woman. And people are up in arms about it. Oh my God. But I'm like, everyone, have you not looked at a picture of her?
I didn't know the name and I just looked up, and I'm going to talk about Hunger Games in a minute too. She
Mhm.
played Tigress in the Hunger Games movies.
Yes.
I think she's only in Mockingjay part 1 or 2. I can't remember. I think it's part 1, but yeah. What? No, I just
Yeah.
looked at her face. Fucking perfect. I agree.
Fucking perfect. I'm like, look, guys, sometimes you just gotta like lay down your burdens on these battles and let's just accept for what it is. Who cares? And I saw her and I was like, look, I said, number one, she's absolutely fucking gorgeous.
Yeah.
Okay. She absolutely looks the fucking part. And I'm like, that's exactly who I would want to play Zelda. Like, that's who I'd want. But the rumor has been bouncing around for like a few years. I don't know if it's just one of those like fans
Fan
started something. Yeah,
casting.
fan
Yeah.
casting and people are just wishing for it. But for the production company, you really need to cast Hunter Schafer as it because she absolutely looks identical to the fucking Twilight Princess era Zelda. And I'm a big Zelda fan. That is who I would want. That would be my Zelda. Whoever they cast now, I'm going to be mad if it's not Hunter Schafer because it needs to be Hunter Schafer.
Yeah, now it's in your head. Can't get it out.
Now it's in my, I can't get it out. It has to be Hunter Schafer.
This goes right into your next one. So go ahead and,
Mhm.
because my other two are just kind of nonsense throwaway things anyway.
Okay, so speaking of Nintendo, the Nintendo Switch 2 just dropped. Yeah, so do you guys remember when you used to buy cartridges for these things and they were like $40, $50? You can put them in your little game thing, you know, put them in the Switch and you just play it and that's great. Well, Nintendo decided to kind of upgrade that a little bit. So instead of the $40 to $50 range,
Upgrade.
upgrade. We're now going in the realm of the $70 or $80 price tag for these video games, which really it's not even the cartridge itself is not even the game itself. It's just a key for you to download the fucking game. And ever since the PlayStation 4 came out, I have literally had a fucking problem because I'm like, look, dude, why do I buy a game and then there's this huge fucking download that comes right after it? Like, I understand updates, but I'm like, guys, look.
Even Red Dead 2.
That's what I was gonna say.
I have that game on disc, and that was a hours long, even with like really fast internet, that was an hours long download.
That's how it was for me when I bought Final Fantasy 16, which was the reason I bought my PS5. And I bought the physical edition because I'm like, I want to get right off work, pop it in, and do it. But I was like, let me put it in while I'm at lunch just to see. Dude, it was like a 4-hour update, man. And I'm just like, guys, come on, man. You remember the days when like you bought a game, like, you know, because I was from that Atari, like Nintendo era, right?
Not Atari for me, but like my first game system was original Nintendo.
There you go. Exactly. So, you know, you had the cartridge.
Yeah.
Put it in and you're ready to go. That's it. Now it's like, no, dude, you got fucking updates. You got day one DLCs and all this shit. And with Nintendo, it's like, dude, I don't understand what their thinking is here. I was there for the release of like the Nintendo 64 and they wanted to stick with cartridges when PlayStation had CDs. These games were $70 or $80. And that was $70 or $80 of 1996 money. So it's really twice as much, you know? So it's probably about $160 today.
We had a Nintendo 64 and we had like 4 or 5 games for it that were purchased. We would rent the games. Like we would rent certain games. I had the Mario game that comes with it. I had one of the car racing games. I had the Star Wars game. There might have been one other, but yeah, we play the Nintendo 64 sometimes, but like not enough for us to be investing like $80 in a game.
No, and even for like me, you know, because I do like the game and I do like to spend money. Every console I've ever bought, when I trace it back, has always been because of a Final Fantasy game. I made a list one time. I got drunk and I was like, you know what? I'm curious as to why I bought each of these systems, and I can tag each Final Fantasy game as to why I bought the fucking system itself. Yeah, so I don't know what they were thinking. Like, I understand, okay, games are getting a little expensive now. Honestly, I really feel like we're headed towards, I actually think that we're already in this video game desolation, is what I consider it, right? Where all games
Mhm.
are just indie games. There's no more AAA titles because the AAA titles take so long to make. If they started making Red Dead 3 today, right,
Oh, yeah.
that game wouldn't be ready for 7 years.
Yep.
That's astronomically crazy. And then they're paying almost $1 billion on a game now that they're not going to make that money back. So it's like we're hitting that point now to where it's like, okay, the games, like the best era when it came for like AAA games and not necessarily the way they looked or anything like that was like the PlayStation 2, because they can pump them out in a year or two. They're an AAA game. They were fantastic. So within the span of life of that console, you got at least 10, 15 AAA titles that were actually solid, as opposed to now with these consoles, you're getting 2, 3, and it just kind of sucks. But I digress. With the Nintendo Switch 2, right? Look, I'm a huge fan of Nintendo. I've always been a fan of Nintendo, even though their games never looked like AAA titles like PlayStation or your PC or anything like that. They had a fun factor to them that no other games from any console can really capture. They really do a good job on that fun factor, man. But with this one, I gotta say, I'm fucking disappointed. Nintendo has been known for their fucking cartridges. The first Switch, I would consider to be one of the best gaming systems when it comes to like concept than anything else. Because a PlayStation and Xbox, it's incremental upgrades, right? But with the Switch, hey, guess what? It's a handheld, right? Because that's what they were trying to do with the 3DS. They wanted to make a handheld, a good one. So now they made a good one that you can now put into a dock, play on your television, and you can play with friends and all this kind of stuff and the little joysticks and everything. So it was like the accumulation of like the Wii era and the Game Boy era and all this stuff. And they merged into one. They made the perfect system as far as I was concerned. If you're into that kind of stuff, I was like, that's the perfect system. So now they made this one. And again, it's just like this incremental upgrade. It's literally just like, okay, well, we gave it a bigger screen, but we downgraded the screen. And look, being a techie, I get that, right? Because I have the Switch, but I have the one with the OLED screen. Most people play it on their TV. So if you get the one with the OLED screen, it doesn't matter. This is just for the screen on the Switch itself. It doesn't change
Yeah.
anything. But for me, I sleep on my couch. I would like to like look at it in the dark. I'd play like the horror games, like Fatal Frame and all this stuff. And it looks really good because your solid blacks are solid black, right? It looks like the entire screen is off except for what is lit. So it looks really good for like contrast and all this kind of good
Mhm.
stuff. So with Nintendo, they got rid of it with the Switch 2. Now, I'm sure they will release it in like another year or two to kind of fleece the people who have already or are buying this one. And they made the screen bigger and all this kind of stuff. And the price tag itself, because if people were complaining about the price tag, it's like $449 now instead of the $349 that was the OLED. Honestly, $100 bump on a system is not terrible. People are shitting on them for that, but I'm like, look, in all honesty, dude, for a Nintendo system, yeah, it's high. Okay,
Yeah,
like
it is. That's
it's
my
definitely
thought.
high. Yeah. I mean, it is probably their most expensive system, I believe. I don't think they had a system that was more or close to that expensive, but I get it. In the end, all they're making is a handheld gaming system that Steam has been doing, that the ROG has been doing. That's all they're doing. It's the same thing. Razer, I think, made one. Now it's just a Nintendo one, and it's for the same price. But to me, it's like, look, I want to play the Nintendo games also, but I can spend $600 on an ROG Ally and I can play any game that plays on a computer.
Mhm.
Anything I want to play. You can play Red Dead on that shit. I played Cyberpunk on that shit. It played totally fine. And I was like, this is great. So I don't know what their angle is here, but I'm going to say that the Switch 2, at least for right now, I'm just going to say it's a miss. I see what they were trying to do with it, but I don't like it.
I'll be honest, I never had a Switch that I purchased until like a couple of years ago in
Mhm.
2020 when the pandemic was happening and I was living on my own and all my friends were playing Animal Crossing. I didn't buy one though. I was very, very lucky. I had a couple that I'm friends with in Greenville. They had one that they hadn't been using and they lent
Mhm.
it to me.
Nice.
And I played Animal Crossing a lot on that for most of that year. Once I moved out to California, I kind of didn't really play it anymore. I actually let Cam use the Switch that I've been lent. And eventually my friends asked for it back and I gave it back to them. But I had actually already bought a new one. The one that I bought was the one that you can actually plug into the TV with the removable controllers. It's
Mhm.
actually an Animal Crossing version of one, whatever. And
Nice.
I bought it because I wanted to play, I think like Stardew Valley or something. I want a better one to play this on.
Yeah.
I never got back into Animal Crossing, even on my
Yeah.
new one. But so I bought it and I played on it for like a month. It was like a gift to myself too, because I had just
Mhm.
gotten a new job that was paying me like way more. So I was like, oh, I can spend 200 or 250 bucks on this like Animal
Mhm.
Crossing Switch, whatever. And it sat unused for like a year. And then when my friends asked for their original Switch back, I just went to Cam and I was like, hey, my friends want that Switch back. You can just have this way better one. He's been using it since then. At least it's being used. But the handheld games, like it was great for me for that period of time. but it's
Mhm.
not, it's
No.
never really been my thing. And for me, it's like the cost of it, I understand costs go up and everything like that, but that's an insane amount of money when you can get a freaking PS5 for, I don't even know what they cost now. I bought mine for $500 like 2 years ago or
No,
a
you
year
can get
and
them
a
for
half ago.
cheaper. Yeah, you can get
Yeah.
them for cheaper now.
And I have the one that actually has the disc insert. You can
Yeah,
get
me too.
the purely online one that's even like $150 cheaper. So it's like, I just don't know that this handheld thing is really worth that much money. To some people, it is. To me, it's not.
Yeah, at that point, you're just purchasing it for the game, like I've done in
Mhm.
the past.
Yeah.
I've bought systems that are just kind of like, okay, whatever, but I wanted the Final Fantasy game that played on it. I had every intention on just skipping this entire generation of consoles because I feel like the PS5 and the Xbox Series X are just bullshit. Honestly, I just don't think, and especially if they're releasing the games on the PS5 and the PS4 at the same time, or the same thing with the Xbox, you can play them on both. It's like, what the fuck is the point? Honestly, unless you're just one of these junkies that you want to have. And look, I worked at Alienware, man. Okay, dude, I wanted the best of the best, the highest resolution, all this kind of shit. But after a while, dude, they're just scamming you at this point. So I didn't like it. And now that there's no real exclusivity anymore. Back in the day, I bought a PS1 for Final Fantasy VII because that was the only system that game was going to come out on.
Yeah.
If I wanted to play that game, I had to buy that fucking system. And not that I totally agree with that or anything, but that's why I did it. So now it's like, okay, well, now the Final Fantasy 16 is on the PlayStation. Well, if I would have waited a year, I could have just played it on the PC that I had that would have ran it and been like, oh, I'll just fucking play it. There's no sense of exclusivity and there's nothing really like pulling you into that. And even with like the Xbox, right? The Xbox has their system or their service that you can, on a Windows machine, you can log into it. You can play the Xbox games or whatever. And it's like, well, then what the fuck is the point of having an Xbox if I can just do that?
I bought my PS5 because I got into one of those. This was back when they were still hard to get, and I got into one of those lotteries and was able to get a window to buy one. But also, like, both mine and Dean's PS4s were already like 10 years old at that point. So I was like, you know what? I've got the option to buy one. I have the money to get one right now. I might as well just do it. Meanwhile, I have not. I played a little bit of Red Dead 1 on it, and that's Dean. He thinks it's his, but like, listen. It's mine. I bought it. It's mine. Anyway, okay. Anything else about that?
No, that was about my rants on that one there.
So I just had two more. These aren't even really newsy. Well, this one is a newsy thing. New Wicked trailer dropped. I think it was this past week. It's like the For Good trailer. It was, of course, amazing. Counting down the days to part 2. Cannot fucking wait. I watched the trailer a couple times. I didn't really see anything really Easter eggy or like super. They did show like Dorothy and her crew a couple times, which was interesting because I was wondering how much they were. And I'm still kind of curious about how much they're actually going to be in the movie because they're really not in. They're basically just like side things. They're not even, I wouldn't even call them necessarily like characters in the musical, like in the stage musical. But so I'm interested in that. But either way, I'm counting down the days to part 2 because part 1 was so fucking good, and I imagine that part 2 is going to be amazing too. The other thing was, this is actually like just going back to video game stuff. And this is not because I've been playing anything, by the way, which I'll, I'm sure mention later, but this isn't really news or gossip, but just a fun tidbit. For some reason, even though I basically never use TikTok anymore, it keeps sending me notifications for clips of interviews with the Red Dead actors. I think it's because Roger Clark and I, Roger, he's Arthur Morgan in Red Dead 2. We follow each other on TikTok. So I think it keeps sending me notifications when he posts stuff like for that reason. But today I saw one with Roger Clark in an interview where they were asking him like what he named his horse, and he said Rob, meaning like Rob Wehoff, who's the actor for John Marston. In this video, they also revealed something that I probably should have known, but somehow didn't. And I even asked Dean when he came home a little while ago, hey, did you know this? And he didn't either. So I mean, now I don't feel so bad. But apparently, if you do not have a 4-star bond with your horse in Red Dead 2, there's a very important cut scene toward at tail end of the game, at least in my opinion, is very important, that gets skipped entirely. But I had no idea because every time I've played the game to that point, I've had a bond with my horse. I mean, the first time I played it, I had the same shitty quote unquote Morgan horse that you can buy at the very beginning of the game. It's like the first horse you can buy. I kept that horse the whole time. And I've said this in other podcasts where I literally like went back, lost hours of gameplay because it auto saved after my horse had died. And I hadn't been able to get the horse insurance yet. And I lost like 2 hours of gameplay to go back to a manual save and get this horse back. So I was just like, wow, I had no idea that it skips that cutscene entirely if you do not have a high enough bond with your horse. And I think that's really fucking cool. Go Red Dead. So watching, you really have not watched anything this month.
Dude, I've not watched anything. I've literally...
Other than Lord of the Rings.
other than Lord of the Rings. I think that was the only thing I watched this month, and watched some like tech videos and stuff like that because they're releasing all kinds of weird new tech and new stuff for
Yeah.
software and shit for like Apple, which is just all bullshit. And that's the only thing that I've been watching.
This past, like, maybe not whole month, but the past few weeks or so, because again, we're recording this, what's today? We're recording this on June 12th. So like the past few weeks or so, things have been kind of dead, honestly, in terms of like new things that are actually interesting to watch. Resident Alien season 4, I believe it is, or I think it's season 4, did come out starting June 6th. I have not had a chance to start watching it yet, but I cannot fucking wait to see it. I fucking love that show. If you're listening or watching this and have not watched Resident Alien, you're missing out. Watch it. I also went on a Hunger Games kick because I saw that it was back on HBO, which is now, what is it? Is it HBO Max? It's not just Max anymore. It's HBO Max again now, whatever. It popped back up on HBO, and I'd been like really annoyed when I finished Sunrise on the Reaping, and I was like, oh, I feel like watching the Hunger Games movies, and I could not find them. The only place I could find them was on Amazon, and they were like to rent or buy, not. And I was like, fuck this shit. So they popped back up on HBO, and I was like, oh, I'm watching all of these. One of the things I talked about last month was Last of Us season 2, but then I was like, oh, I won't say too much because it's not over yet. And as I've said before, like, listen, I did not play Last of Us 2, the game, because of the negative things I heard about it, including mostly Joel dying. But with the show, like, I was expecting that. I was expecting that he was going to die, obviously. So while I missed seeing Pedro Pascal all season, I wasn't like hating on the fact that he was gone. Like, yes, I wish he was still there. We all love Pedro Pascal. He is the man we all need in our lives. Let's be real. Like, as a person, as an actual human being in real life. So like while I missed seeing him, it was like, okay, like I knew it was going to happen. But the end of the season was like super fucking bunk. It's just like they go through this whole situation and they're like, Ellie is going to chase down Abby, and they get to Seattle and things happen. People die, and one character dies like very suddenly and violently too, which is in the final episode. Then we're just cutting to 3 days earlier, and it shows Abby and like what she was up to 3 days prior to her like finding Ellie and her friends in Seattle. And now I've heard that season 3 is pretty much mostly Abby, and just like, I'll watch it, and I'm going to have the HBO subscription because I have got the HBO Disney Plus Hulu bundle, but
They're doing it like the video game, because in the video game it swaps and you have to play as Abby.
And I get that, but I feel like they really should have done a back and forth, because they lost so many viewers who didn't know the video game when Joel died. Obviously nobody likes Abby because they've gotten nothing, like next to nothing about her. So season 3, I'm not saying it's going to be bad, but what I am saying is they're going to have a really fucking hard time keeping previous viewers or attracting new viewers, because they're just throwing you into, and I get it that that's how it does it in the game. But again, they really should have done a more like back and forth thing in season 2. I think that just ending season 2 the way they did, and then like throwing us into Abby's shoes for most of season 3 it's going to suck. It's not fair also to the actors. It's not fair to the people who are working so hard on this series. And also we're going to have to wait probably 2 years for it. So
yeah, because that's how seasons are now.
Yeah, we talked about that last month. So anyway, things I have watched because like, why not? There's nothing else to watch, include And Just Like That, which is HBO's Sex and the City follow-up show. Is it season 2 now or season 3? I don't know, whatever the fucking season it's on now. This follow-up Sex and the City show, it was cringe from the beginning. It continues. I feel like it's even more cringe than the first whatever season or 2 seasons were. Like, ladies, you are all in your 50s. How are you repeating the same bullshit from the first show when you were like all in your early 30s or whatever? I'm going to continue watching it, but it's like a hate watch, like, oh, how bad can this really get? And then Sirens on Netflix. That was a show I watched.
I've heard about that one.
The trailer makes it look like it has supernatural or fantastical elements. I call bogus. It absolutely does not. Even in the show itself, there's a few little things where it's like they're trying to make it seem like it does. It doesn't. It doesn't.
Yeah.
Just to be clear, like, spoiler alert, maybe, but I don't want other people to be fooled. It doesn't. And also that would be okay, but don't like try to trick people into thinking there are.
Into thinking it is, yeah.
It's also in need of some huge trigger warnings. Like, I was okay, but I could see quite a few things being very problematic for people if they go in not knowing about them. Was it terrible? No. It does have Millie Alcock in it. Our young queen, our young Rhaenyra queen. And she's good in it too. She's really good in it. she's good in it, but she's not that I think you're gonna watch it, but I don't want to spoil anything. She's good in it, but she's not our queen in it. Let's put it that
Oh,
way.
gotcha. Fair enough.
And then also I watched the 4 seasons. I think it's a one-off. It's got like Tina Fey and oh my gosh, the guy from the Fear the Walking Dead. And I don't know. It's about like these 4 middle-aged couples that like vacation together. Oh, it's got Steve Carell in it. It was fine. Like it wasn't terrible. It was just like, oh, this wasn't what I was expecting either. So 2 shows in a row I watched that was just not what I was expecting. Now that's it. I will wrap this up by talking about Preacher. Have you ever watched Preacher? It was an AMC show. It's got Dominic Cooper.
Yeah, I've never watched Preacher, but I believe it is based on the comics that I read. Yeah,
Yes,
so I read the comics, familiar with it, but I never watched the actual show.
Yeah, I knew it was based on comics. I've not read the comics. The show is interesting. I like it. It's good.
Yeah.
We're in season 2 right now. Dean and I are watching it together. And I love that in season 2, it takes place in New Orleans and is actually filmed in New Orleans. Cause there's like shows that say, oh, we're going to New Orleans. True Blood is one. Like that whole show is supposed to take place in Louisiana pretty much. The whole thing is filmed in California. They might have done like one thing in New Orleans, maybe, but I honestly don't think they did.
I like it when you use actual, like, when they go there. I don't know if I've bitched about it before, but like the one that pissed me off the most, everybody likes Scarface, right? Like everyone loves that movie. Oh no, it's a great movie. I watched that movie. Being Cuban, I found it really insulting, number one. And number two, 99% of that film is filmed in California. And I'm like, guys, this is not, I was raised in Miami. I know what it looks like. That ain't it. So I hate it when they do that.
It's like me with Gilmore Girls. Like, listen, don't get me wrong. I fucking love Gilmore Girls, but it takes place in Connecticut and it's entirely filmed in California. Oh my God. They're like, it's February. And they're walking around with like a shirt with like a down vest and like a light scarf around their neck. And I'm like, have you literally ever been to Connecticut in February, you guys? At least fake it and bundle up a bit more, for Christ's sake. Actually, come to think of it, I forgot, well, not forgot, but I didn't mention this last month. It took me a while to figure out how to watch it. But speaking of shows set in New Orleans, Interview with the Vampire. I finally finished watching, is it 2 or 3? I think it's 2 seasons. I think it's just 2 seasons of Interview with the Vampire. It was really good. I was a little unsure about the first season at first, which is why I stopped watching it live. And I was like, I'm just going to wait until like the season is finished. And then I kind of forgot about it for a while. And then season 2 came out and finished and I still had forgotten about it. And then I was looking for something to watch and I was like, oh shit, Interview with the Vampire. I think it went back to me being like, I need to see, read, and listen to things that are all New Orleans based. And to be fair, season 2 of Interview with the Vampire is not in New Orleans until like the very end. Maybe I think they go back super briefly. But funnily enough, they were filming season 1 when Dean and I got married in New Orleans. Like right around the corner from the mansion that we rented for our wedding and wedding party. And so we were constantly seeing like the film crews and the streets blocked off and the extras and the costumes. We never saw any of the, like the big name actors, but I liked it a lot. I don't know that they're doing a season 3. I honestly haven't looked it up. I don't see how they could unless they do like a prequel sort of thing like the books are, because season 2 really wrapped it up. But anyway, so whatever. Preacher is good. If you've never watched it and you like the comics, I don't know how true to the comics it is, but it's certainly entertaining. It's got some really good music. Have you been reading anything?
No, I have been literature free.
My God. Okay. This whole thing is me talking now.
No, I definitely have not, because I was reading North and South the month prior. And then I just had too much like logistical stuff going on and trying to do things. And I could never stop my brain long enough for me to sit down and try to read some older literature like that. Older literature is always a little more harder to swallow, I think, sometimes. So it's I couldn't sit and like actually read it. So no, this month has been literature free for me. I'm on my 30-day literature fast.
My reading pace has slowed considerably from what it was at the beginning of the year, mostly because I'm like prepping for a move, but I have gotten in a few since our May State of the Saga. There's only a couple worth mentioning. The first one is Katrina After the Flood, which is a nonfiction book and mostly focuses, it does talk some about like what was happening during the hurricane, but mostly focuses on post-Katrina New Orleans, especially politics and race issues. It's a very intriguing read, especially like considering that it is nonfiction. Not the topics it covers, but just nonfiction can be really dry. But this is very intriguing. My only complaint was that the author like jumps around from topic to topic within chapters in a way that can be like jarring. But I read it very quickly, honestly, especially for like a 400 plus page nonfiction book when I'm working full time, editing podcasts, stuff like that. The other that bears mentioning is it's called Skippers of Fortune, Lafitte's Gold. This is a self-published book written by a friend of one of my close buddies. And one of the main characters in it is based on this close buddy of mine who I know from when I first worked at Disney way back in 2001. I will say that my opinion of this book is definitely skewed for the better because it features a character based on someone I love, is written by a close friend of that person, has mentions of several other people that I know from working at Disney, and is set in New Orleans.
That's a win-win right there.
Yeah. Like, but if you're not picky about formatting, it's self-published and it's a first novel to boot. But whatever, if you're not picky about formatting and you don't mind a lot of descriptive similes, it's a fun little read. And it's supposed to be the first in a series. It also has like a neat little message at the end. I enjoyed it quite a bit. Audiobooks. So last month I mentioned the Scandalous Confessions of Lydia Bennet, which I did finish that. If you're a Pride and Prejudice fan, it is definitely worth a read / listen. It really is like an interesting take on Lydia Bennet's story. Lydia is the youngest sister who is ruined when she runs off with the dastardly George Wickham. But the author did a lot of research into witchcraft, colonization issues, and even wove like some Easter eggs from Austen's other works into it. So it is like a really fun little read.
Nice.
The last like a reading-ish thing. I cannot believe I'm admitting this, but my current audiobook is Midnight Sun by Stephanie Meyer.
Wow.
This is the Twilight story told from Edward Cullen's point of view instead of Bella's. I do have good reason. I am an anti-Twilight person. Let me be very clear. I do have good reason because I had a Facebook thing pop up. I had totally forgotten that I was friends with a Facebook account called Cardboard Cullen. It is an account I own. I have no idea how to get into it. Or how it even still exists, honestly, because it's obviously a fucking fake account. The name is Cardboard. It's not real. Yep. Didn't Facebook go through a thing 10 years ago or something where they were like purging accounts that sounded like they had fake names? The picture is a cardboard standee of Edward Cullen, I think, next to a Christmas tree. Like, so this account exists because, listen, I'm not anti-Twilight now, but I was like rabidly anti-Twilight in the late aughts and early 2010s. I was rabidly anti-Twilight. I have some thoughts on like people can like what they like right now, but I still have issues with it for the very obvious reasons. If you've never read Twilight or watched the movies or know anything about it, then skip over the next minute or two. But I have issues with it for very obvious reasons that I'm not going to go into because it would take me like 20 minutes to explain them. But yeah, so anyway, this account popped up and I was like, wasn't there an Edward Cullen book that came out not that long ago? I think I even heard about it on a podcast I was listening to like a few months ago. And it didn't come out not that long ago. It came out like 2020 or something. It's been a while, but it was available for free on Spotify Premium, which I have. So I was like, well, I need a new audiobook. I'll listen to this because I knew I wouldn't care like when my audiobook hours run out and I just pick it up again in a few weeks or whatever. And yes, it's as cringe as you would expect. The original books are cringe. This might somehow be more cringe. I'm really not even. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. But I mean, I'll be honest. I am out of my audiobook listening hours. So I think I got like maybe about a third or halfway through it before I ran out of listening time. But I'll finish it. Like I'm not gonna pay to finish it. But when my premium things come back up in a week or so, I will finish it. And I'm sure I will have maybe next month in our July State of the Saga, I'll have some more thoughts. But yeah, it's as cringe as you would expect. And I just was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm not gonna be shy about the fact that I'm listening to this shit. Like, I want people to know how I feel about it when I'm done with it.
Yeah.
Have you not been playing anything either?
No, this has like been like the longest span of time where I haven't played anything at all.
Not even Chrono Trigger or whatever.
No, I haven't fucking touched it, dude. And I loved it. And I'm like right at the ending of the game. So I'm like, oh, this is it. I gotta finish the game again, like I did back in 97 or whatever the fuck I did. But I don't know, man. I just haven't. But I guess I go through like spurts like that. When I bought Final Fantasy, it took me almost a year to finish it. Even with all the hours I put into it, I think it came out to about 100 hours. But it took me a year to do that because sometimes I play for like 3 or 4 hours. I'll play every day for like maybe 2 or 3 hours, and then after about a week or two, then I played once this week for an hour. And then it always hits this like dead spot to where I'm like, okay, I'm not going to touch. And I just wind up not playing anything for a week or two. And then I go back into it and it's like it ramps up. And now I'm like spending 5 hours a day playing it. So I always kind of like bounce back and forth when it comes to video games like that. Maybe it's an ADHD thing. I don't know. I don't focus too hard on them sometimes. And I think part of me likes to stretch it out as much as possible also.
Yeah, I get that. This section has been for you for a bit now.
Mm-hmm.
I have minimal free time continually. So listening, what have you been listening to?
I've been listening to a lot of orchestra stuff. So the majority of the orchestra stuff that I listen to pretty much deals with Final Fantasy orchestra, stuff like that, when they take the music and they turn it into orchestra stuff. So a lot of that, it's been a month. So I've been listening to a lot of like noir jazz. So it's pretty much the epic music and the dark vibes.
I've done some random, like, I feel like listening to some music right now, but nothing that like stands
Nothing
out.
major.
I am still listening to the fan-made True Blood podcast called Fang Bangers. It's still funny. That's kind of it for me. What upcoming events or other things are we excited about? What do you got going on anytime soon?
So yeah, I'll be going to Miami soon. Mostly work related stuff, but it's nice to go home and just kind of get to see my parents stuff. My parents are much older, now, so it's like getting to go down there, see them, see my sisters, my nieces and my nephews and stuff like that, and just getting to just spend a little quality time down there. This is never for long, and I really need to probably take like an actual week off and go visit there sometime where I'm not obligated to work. My work's headquarters are down there, so every time I'm there, they're like, "Oh, pull me in, you got to do this," and I understand because I am the only working remote guy, really, so they want me to see the clients and all that kind of stuff, and it's totally fine. I love doing it. Not a problem whatsoever. I just need to take more time off the next time I go so that way I can like spend time there. But look, in the end, I've raw dogged Miami like long enough. I've been through like every alley, every beach, everything that at this point you go back and it's like, look, dude, there's only so many times you can rewatch a movie.
I've been to Miami. I've taken a cruise out of there, but I was driving from South Carolina. So we drove to like, I don't know, Port Canaveral or a little bit south of there. And like we drove after work. So we drove like 8 hours, spent the night, and then woke up the next day and like drove to the cruise port. And that was it. The second time I was there for like one night, it was on the way back from Key West and it was like downtown. I've never been to a Miami beach. I've never been to any like decent restaurants or bars there. Like it's not, I know they exist, don't get me wrong, but it's just I've never actually been there for funsies.
Yeah, like if I had to suggest to anybody going down there is number one, avoid Miami Beach at all costs. No locals ever go there. It's just a horrible place. Like if you want to see like the neon lights on the 3 buildings, it's got them. Okay, that's fantastic, and you want that. But it's literally like this fake bougie. Everything is overpriced. Everything is fucking ridiculous. People are fucking stupid. They're driving around in their little rental Lamborghinis, trying to pretend that they're influencers. It's fucking terrible. You want to go to like a good beach? You're gonna go to Crandon Park, baby. All right, everyone there goes to fucking Crandon Park. It's a great beach to fucking go to. It's fantastic. Those are the places that if you ever decide to go again, then we just going to go together so that way I can take you.
I would rather just go with you because I feel like I don't know that Miami ever would have been my scene, honestly. Not that I didn't love a good club back in the day, but for sure not these days. Like if I'm going to go party somewhere, it's going to be New Orleans or Key West. Not even Vegas. I'm over Vegas. And I used to go to Vegas a fuck ton.
Key West is great. Key West is a fantastic, and it's a fantastic drive going down there. It's just a very nice scenic drive. It's very boring because it's a straight road for 3.5 hours, but it's really cool to like see. And of course now it's like anything in Miami and further south is becoming so like corporatized now and like tourist style that they're literally like fucking it up. Like when I went to Key West, I think one of the last times I went was I think it was like 99 or something, and they had like Fantasy Fest, which was like the gay festival that they had down there. I went to 2 of them and I had no idea. The first time I went, I guess I was like 20 or maybe like 19. I had no idea what kind of festival it was. I just went down there and I was like, oh my God, what is going on here? But everybody was like so nice. It was like a really cool vibe. Everyone was having a great time. And I was like, oh, I'm coming back to this. Absolutely. So I think I went 2 more times after that and it was a lot of fun, man. So Key West was fantastic back then. How it is now, my sister still goes every so often, but she's like, dude, it's changed. And that's the part that I hate about Miami.
I only went to Key West twice, and both times were in 2016. One of my good friends from my Disney college program actually got married there in May 2016. And then the same kind of Florida road trip where I ended up in Miami for one night, we were in Key West for like 3 days before that. We stopped in Miami as like to split the drive up on the way back to Orlando or wherever we were going. both times were a blast. But also that was, listen, like almost 9 years ago, the last time I went. So I don't know if it's really all that different now, but I freaking loved it. It also helped that both times were not like super high tourist times or hurricane season either. I would love to go back. My cousin is turning 40 next year and she was asking where she should go. And I was like, unless you really want to go like overseas or something. She's like, I don't want to go to Vegas. I went to New Orleans for your wedding. Where should I go? I was like, honestly, like if you've not been to Key West, you and I like the same sort of things. You would freaking love Key West, I think. So hopefully it's not too different.
Yeah, I mean, they say it's still good, but it's just not what it used to be. I remember going down there and there was this one area that you could actually park your car legally overnight. There was one small area that you can probably fit maybe 20 cars. It was along the bridge road and stuff like that. You can park on the side of the road. And me and my friend used to go down there and we would drive all the way down there. We're like, we're just going to spend the night out here. And we did it like just dirty style with the windows rolled open. It was hot as hell. Got legs sticking out the window trying to stretch, but it was great. It was a much different environment. I do love the fact that you can just drink on the streets. You can just walk around with drinks in your hands. And not that I'm like some kind of drunk or I'm like, oh, I'm gonna. No, it's just like,
no,
dude,
it's just nice to not have to. That's why I loved Vegas for so long. And Vegas is just a bit much for me now. It's just overstimulation. But that's why I love New Orleans so much. And also great food and amazing music and just the people in New Orleans, everything about New Orleans. New Orleans is my favorite place in the world. And I've been a lot of places. But like Savannah also has, is it an open container or no? You can also do that in Savannah. You can have open containers in Savannah as well. I like Savannah just fine, but I think Key West is better than Savannah.
Key West is definitely better than Savannah's good. Don't get me wrong. Savannah's a cool place to hang out, but I don't remember which law it is because there's laws where you can walk around with open drinks and the other one is you can walk around with open drinks, but it has to be in a paper bag. And I can't remember which one Key West was. I think
as far as I know, it's open drinks. I definitely remember no glass, but
yeah, I can't remember which city it was where it's like you can have an open drink, but you had to have it in one of those gas station brown paper bags. You couldn't.
Weird.
You couldn't have it displayed in essence. Obviously, if it was like a clear cup and you're just having like a mixed drink, they're not going to make you do it. But if it was like beers, you had to have it in a brown paper bag.
That's actually more than I thought. Las Vegas, Hood River, Oregon. I don't think you've been there. Memphis, Tennessee, New Orleans, Erie, Pennsylvania, Fredericksburg, Texas, Savannah, Georgia, Butte, Montana, Austin, Texas, Gainesville, Florida allows the consumption of alcohol. Yeah, none of them say what the rule is. This is a funny thing. Is like now because we're talking about this, Dean and I were in San Diego this past weekend. A friend of mine was visiting he was there for Cisco Live, which is like a big tech conference thing. It was funny because Dean and I were walking to meet my friend Jonathan for dinner on Saturday evening. And there's this group of dudes and they are like, I'm talking like stumbling, slurring, talking super loud. One of the guys was just weaving all over the sidewalk on a main fucking street in San Diego with beers in their hands. And I looked at Dean and I was like, they definitely don't just allow people to drink in public in San Diego. Like I know this for a fact. I've been to San Diego only twice outside of Comic-Con, but this was my 10th time in San Diego. Like I know for a fact they do not allow you to drink in public, but these dudes, and it was like 4:45 in the afternoon. Yes, on a Saturday, but I was like, dudes, get your shit together, honestly. Like, what are you doing? Listen, fine, be drunk. Okay, be silly. They weren't being rude or anything. They were just, could not even walk straight. It was a lot. I was like, okay, carrying your beers in public. Hope you don't run into a cop.
One of the funny stories I had when I was experiencing Key West, like in my adult life, I went to Key West a lot when I was a child, a lot. I must have gone maybe 9-10 times a year, every year. We went all the time as kids, all the fucking time. But when I got older, I didn't go that much. After I'd moved out of my parents' house, we just didn't go. And I remember being out there and seeing these people who were drinking getting really rowdy. And there was like 3 cops there. And I'm just like, oh my God, this shit's going to go down right now. So the drunk guy grabs his bottle, like flips it around and tosses it at the cop. And it smashes right in front of him, like throws glass everywhere in front of these cops. And the cop looks at me, he's like, sir, you better calm down right now. Just all like nice.
A parent.
Yeah. He's like, you better calm down right now. And the other ones are like, sir, no, calm down. Where are your friends at? Come here. Where are your friends at? Dude, if that would have happened today, forget it.
Yeah.
Anyways, they be blasting,
Oh my
man.
God. All right. Well, so anyway, for me, upcoming events, I'm going to Medieval Times this weekend. We're just trying to like squeeze in some fun, random things before we move away from California. And like, yes, Medieval Times is a lot of places, but this is the place where it's literally like 40 minutes from where we live. So we're meeting up with some friends, and I have not been to Medieval Times since I was in high school. So
Wow.
I'm excited just to experience this absolute nonsense again. And other than that, just prepping and planning for the move next month. So as we close out the episode, we once again want to give a huge thanks to our patrons for their support. Make sure to check out our other Geek Saga show series, including Media That Made Us. We just wrapped up our Lord of the Rings episodes. They're available on YouTube. By the time this comes out as a podcast, the final episode for Return of the King will have already released as a podcast. So there's that. Also, 90s and Naughties Cringe Factor and the Impulsive Hyper Focus solo episodes and more. And please do not forget to like, subscribe, or rate us 5 stars wherever you're watching or listening. And as always, please also consider supporting us, especially if you want to know about our travel stuff next month, July, which I will also talk about in our July episode, even though by the time that airs as a podcast, we will have already done it. But please also consider supporting us by backing our Patreon at patreon.com/geeksaga_entertainment.